Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Today we're at the pretty village of Owermoigne in Dorset, although some locals call it just Moigns. It's located about 6 miles southeast of Dorchester and about 10 miles west of Wareham. And we're going to be walking a roughly 6-mile saucepan-shaped route. We'll start in the village and then head south along a section of the Hardy Way up to Moigns Down, where I'll head west to explore the Poxwell Stone Circle, and then Poxwell itself for a little investigation there before heading back to the village here. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of interesting things to see along the way. Now, I'm filming in the middle of January. It's a very, very cold day. As you can see, Logan's got his extra thick coat on and I've got about 3 layers on. It's about 0 degrees at the moment. It might get as warm as 2 or even 3 degrees later on. But the sun is out, there's blue sky, perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car in the village. Now, before I head out into the countryside, let me tell you a little bit of the history about the place. There's been a settlement here since at least the Roman times. The Ower bit might be a corruption of the Celtic word ogredust or oir and drust, meaning wind gap, possibly referring to gaps in the chalk hills funneling winds off the sea to the south. On the other hand, it might also originate from the Old English offer or border or edge. The Moyne bit is a lot easier to determine, as that derives from the family name of Lemoyne, who are lords of the manor here after the Norman conquest. Well, I brought along with me one of my favourite books, Highways and Byways in Dorset by Sir Frederick Treves. It was written in 1906. Treves was a prominent surgeon and probably best well known for his friendship with the Elephant Man. Indeed, he wrote a book about him as well. Anyway, while he was going through Dorset, he wrote about various villages along the way. Let's see what he said about this village here. Now, I've got to wear my glasses for this. Farther along the highway is Owermoigne, a shy, old-fashioned hamlet, highly suspicioned of smuggling in the days when the free traders hid their stuff in church towers, of which fact the vicar was rendered only obscurely conscious by the appearance of a mystic keg of excellent brandy in the vicarage porch. Owermoigne is now one of those many hamlets which have no apparent object in life. And I have to say, I think he was a little unkind. I think it's a very, very pretty village. Anyway, he talked about the church, and it's just in front of me here. And it's the church of St Michael's. Now, the tower originates from the 15th century, but the rest of the church was effectively rebuilt in 1883 after it was in a dilapidated state. I think it suffered a fire the previous year. And it consists of a chancel, nave, tower, north chapel, north vestry and a south porch. I think it's got 3 bells. Right, well, let's have a little peep inside. It may be a bit dark as I haven't been able to find the lights. There's the font just on the left hand side. That must be the bell tower. Quite spectacular wooden ceiling. And there's a very sweet organ. Isn't that delightful? The pulpit there on the right, and then up towards the altar, a stunning stained glass window at the far end. Of course, with the morning sunshine, it looks quite spectacular today. And then just on the left here, there's it could be a tapestry rather than a painting of, what's that? Yeah, the 3 wise men and a beautiful little church. And there's the side of the old school, built in 1873. I think it's a private residence now, not 100% sure. Oh, isn't that delightful? Thatched cottage with a little stream in full flow running in front of it. And over there, the old post office. So well presented, looking stunning in the morning sunshine with the white paintwork. And this must be the village pump, although it looks as though it hasn't been used for quite some time. And there's a notice up here. I don't know if you're going to be able to read it because there's a sort of plastic cover over it which reflects the light, but it says, notice traction engines are not allowed water from this pump by order of the parish council. Now I should mention a place called Moigns Court, which is just to the north of the village. We're not going to be able to see it because it's it's private, although I think it is open to the public for the month of May. But I want to tell you a little bit about it anyway, so I'll put some pictures up. I believe it's actually one of the oldest inhabited houses in Dorset, built around about 1267, if not earlier, when a grant was given by Henry III's wife to William Lemoigne to build it. The Lemoignes had owned the land since the time of Henry I. Been various owners over the years, but the Cree family have owned it since 1826. And it was a moated house with a first floor hall, and then there were additions to it in the 16th century and then alterations in the 19th century. And the last thing to look at, on the western side of the village, is the village hall, home of the Owermoigne Cricket and Social Club. Although I believe they don't actually have a cricket team at the moment, but I might be wrong about that. Right, now we need to start heading westwards along a footpath which goes along the side of this village hall here. Well, we've now left that delightful village. No pub, you'll have noticed. I don't think it's ever had one either. Anyway, we're going to head, well, we're headed westwards, and then now we're going to head south, uphill, and we should get some terrific views very shortly. Well, I've just crossed over the dual carriageway, the A352, and now, say, heading south along a track that's taking you up to the top of a ridge. In fact, just by me here, look at a 1902 map, looks as though there was a cottage one, Newgate Cottages, but long gone now. Oh, I do love these winter days when the sun's out and you've got the blue sky, very little wind. Everything's so fresh and clear. I'll show you some of the views when we get to the top. I apologise if you hear the odd sniff or heavy breathing on the audio. It's that sort of day. We're about halfway up our ascent towards the top of Moigns Down. We're actually on part of the Hardy Way, which is that 220-mile long distance path that links a number of places that have got a connection with Thomas Hardy, and it starts at Higher Bockhampton where he was born and finishes at Stinsford Churchyard where he was buried. Just stop for a little pit stop and just looking at the view behind me. So this is looking to the north. I say Owermoigne's behind that sort of little ridge down there, and wow, you can see for miles on a day like today. Well, just before we sort of drop down just on the other side of the ridge here, one final look back to the north. Beginning to get a little bit of a wind up here on the ridge, which is only natural. Oh, there's certainly a wind up here on top of the down. So we're now going to start heading westwards to our next destination, the Poxwell Stones. But the views from up here, they really are terrific. I've just spotted over in the distance a trig point. Now I've just had to switch the microphone over, got the Rode microphone, the shotgun. It's better in wind, so hopefully the audio is going to be okay. Well, there's the trig point, which of course has been bagged in the customary manner, and Logan did very well to cling on. And then just looking over, yes, our first sighting of the sea in the far distance, and that looks quite almost a Mediterranean blue, doesn't it? Well, we've finally made it. Took a bit of finding actually, but this is the Poxwell Stone Circle. Bronze Age, possibly even late Neolithic, a round barrow with a retaining ring of something like 20 sarsen stones. And there's a sort of trackway to the north of it, which is a long barrow earthwork. But as you can see, it's fairly underwhelming. There's a few more of the stones just over here. It was quite easy to miss actually, and then I'm having to keep Logan on a lead because there's a herd of cows in this field, and then just another bit of the sarsen stone just over here. This must be the most northerly one, I reckon. Yep, there we go. I must be mad doing this. Well, here we are up by the Poxwell Stone Circle, trying to keep out of that vicious wind. It's a wind chill factor. It feels like -2, -3. Anyway, shall we see what Sir Frederick Treves said about the stones? Should be interesting. On a high down just above the village and in full view of Portland and Weymouth Bay is a stone circle made up of 15 rough grey stones. This circle of unknown antiquity has only a diameter of 14 feet, yet it is protected by a rampart and ditch on the side towards the sea. It is little more than a yokel Stonehenge, the effort of a humble village, a work as innocent of pretension as a model of the Great Pyramid built out of pebbles by a boy on a beach. It would be curious to know how it came to be. If the poor folk of British Poxwell built on this bleak down their own tiny temple in imitation of that at the great capital near Sarum, it would be well if they could have foreseen that thousands of years after, their stones would still be found exactly as they had placed them. 3 of the stones of the Poxwell Stonehenge are fairly large, but the others could have been carried by any lusty lad in this camp of small ambitions. I don't think he was very impressed, do you? We've just made our way off the ridge. Nice to get out of that wind, and just passing by a little quarry and just looking at the side of it here. Excellent example that shows the different strata. You've got what looks like quite a hard looking rock or stone layer, and then underneath this much softer layer. Now, I'm no expert on these matters, but it's just fascinating to watch. You can see how it's been pushed at an angle. Well, right next to the quarry is well, I'm not 100% sure what this is. I imagine it may be a kiln. I say I'm no expert, but obviously derelict now. I wonder how old it is as well. Well, a little update on the route. We've crossed the A353. We're continuing to head westwards to a place called Pixon Barn, and then we'll change direction and head north to our next destination, little hamlet of Poxwell. But well, let me just show you a little bit of the scenery. You see, this is where we've come from. So that little quarry was in those trees, and then this is panning around to the south. Now, see how we go. I'm pointing directly at the sun. Of course, it's very low this time of year, but you might be able to see the sea, and then just beyond there's the Isle of Portland, and then just panning around, and this is this little uphill section, which should be our last uphill section of the walk towards that barn. Well, we're now just dropping down into the tiny little hamlet of Poxwell, and I can just see the manor house in the distance there. It was recorded as Poxwell in the Domesday Book, originating from Pokes and Well. I think there was a well dating from the 1st century located on the hillside up here. And in the Middle Ages it was owned by Cerne Abbey right up until the dissolution of monasteries. Well, it looks as though the footpath goes along the side of the manor house. I'm not sure how much of the house we're going to be able to see other than the roof, which is a shame. But the house itself was built in 1613 in a Jacobean style, and the northwest wing was added in the 19th century, and the whole building was restored in 1934. And apparently in the late 1700s, George III is said to have visited here on a number of occasions on his way to Weymouth. And indeed, Thomas Hardy used it as an inspiration for Oxwell Hall in his 1880 novel, The Trumpet Major. Well, actually, the footpath does go on the southern side of the house, and although it is a bit dark, you can see a fair bit of it, and indeed through to the other side I can just see the top of the gatehouse with its sort of hexagonal roof, which dates from 1634. But just in front of me here you can see all these gravestones. Well, if you look at a very old map, there was a church here, St John the Baptist, originally a 12th century church, but it was demolished and then a new church just built a few yards further to the east. So we'll go and have a look and see if we can see anything of it today. Well, this area here in front of me is where the new church was built in 1868, and it consisted of a nave, a chancel, south vestry, north and south transept, a north porch, a west tower with a 90-foot spire. But sadly it became too costly to maintain and it was demolished in 1969. The 15th century bell that had also been at the first church and also the second is now at the St Martin's Church at Broadmain, which is to the west of here. Well, as I mentioned, Poxwell isn't very big. A lot of the houses and cottages were built by the Trenchard family, owners of the manor in the mid-19th century. And there's a lovely village pump here, built in 1843. Well, we're very much on the homeward leg now. We've left Poxwell. We did have another hill to climb. So we're heading eastwards, and then we're going to rejoin that section of the Hardy Way and make our way back to the village and the car. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We had to do the end scene here up on the ridge by the Poxwell Stone Circle. We hope you enjoyed the walk. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today. No pub, of course, so I think it'll be the Black Dog at Broadmain. So until we meet again, when hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer, thanks for watching and cheerio. Good boy.